Hi guys, that's my best friend Shenielle.
And that's our best friend Janelle.
This week we're discussing a topic that I feel like at one point or another everyone goes through in their lives. For me, it was probably as early as high school. Who's to blame when your person cheats on you?
Do y'all know?
Because I feel like for some reason society has just ingrained this competition in us where we just, I don't know, automatically feel like it's the person who is coming into our relationship and we attack them.
Or some people blame themselves.
That too. I think I went through that as well in high school. But it was more so feeling like, who the hell is this girl and I can't stand her. And I mean, that's just something that I had to grow out of. It didn't take me long, but I definitely had to grow out of it. Like, unless, you know, it's a situation where the girl knew what was going on, and then I'm gonna blame both y'all. But generally, you know, especially in high school, guys are not telling people that they have girlfriends. And a lot, you know, even up to college, guys are not telling people that they have girlfriends.
Even grown men today. I don't want to say, I want to make it seem as if like we're attacking the men, because women do the same thing too. Mm-hmm. You feel me? Which is why we said person, because this is not just a male attribute or a female attribute. It's both. It's the person. I mean,
Shenielle's also convinced that guys react to, you know, cheating in the same manner as women. To me, I see women more often attack the other girl, the other woman, or, you know, feel a way towards the other woman. And guys, to me, and as far as I've seen, they don't really go for the other guy just out of pride. Like, I'm not gonna go and talk to some other, you know, dude.
I've seen it differently. I've seen where the man will talk to the other man, you know, hey, let's have a conversation. It's very violent. I mean,
girls are like that too, but yeah, I've only seen that with girls.
I've seen it with guys.
But girls are the ones that'll be like, you know, that's my man, and
I'm gonna mash up your window, I'm gonna slash your tires. Not just to the man, but also to the side person. Because guess what? It doesn't necessarily have to be a woman. He could be cheating with another man. You understand me? Like, this is just a generation that we're in right now. There's just so much different stuff happening. So Janelle had proposed that question, you know, who is to blame? And I personally, I don't know. I don't want to say somebody is to blame. I just more am concerned about your personal health.
Someone is absolutely to blame. It's the person that cheated. Someone is always absolutely to blame, and it is always going to be the person who stepped out of your relationship, no matter what was going on in it. If you guys had your problems, if, you know, he decided that, you know, I just can't take this and I want to get out of the relationship, so I'm going to go sleep with somebody else, it's still his fault. Because guess what? If you wanted out of the relationship, you could have gotten out of it.
That's true.
But instead, you went and did your dirt. And now look what you're dealing with. You have to deal with somebody's wrath because you didn't tell them that you're single.
And every action has a consequence, whether it's good or bad. Keep that in mind.
I personally went through one of the first times, not the first, but one of the first times that I got cheated on. I went through that, like, what did I do wrong and what was wrong with me? And I think that kind of hardened me, honestly, for my future relationships. Now, you know, I've been growing a lot within, like, maybe the past few years. Like 4 years now, maybe. And I think, like, I just think about things completely different than I used to. Definitely react to things differently than I used to. I just don't want the drama. Like, I'm just completely, like, over that, like, era of my life. But back then, it was just like, well, what did I do? What was wrong with me? Like, you know, and I felt very insecure about the situation. At this point in my life, I'm not looking at things like that. I mean, I'll look at it and be like, you know, was it a one-night stand? Like, I honestly feel sorry for girls that find themselves into situations like that where, like, you know that they want more from the situation and your person, like, ends up hooking up with them or whatever the case is for like one night. And I'm just like, damn, that's insecurity. Like, that's, you don't feel good about yourself for you to do something like that. I mean, of course, there are girls that just want sex, and that's cool. Right. But generally, what I've seen are the girls who think that, you know, the guy is going to cheat on them and they're going to live happily ever after with somebody else's boyfriend. That'll never happen. Like, let's be real.
Not even that. There's also those that prey on the people who are in relationships because they're in relationships. Like, I've literally heard this out of a man's mouth.
I think it's attractive to some people.
But what's attractive about that? This person with somebody else, they have a whole,
it's
life.
It's like psychological. Like, I feel like people look at other people's happiness and just feel like, I want that. And I've said this before, like, people don't realize that when you want something that belongs to somebody else, or I shouldn't say belong, but like that is someone else's at that point, it's because of how you see that other person being happy. But if you go and take that, you're never going to have the same reaction or the same response. Like, that's never going to be your life because it belongs to somebody else. Like, even if you have the situation, they're never going to interact with you the same way because everybody interacts with somebody in a different way.
Very true.
I don't have the same relationship with her as I have with any of my other girlfriends, and it goes the same for relationships. I don't have the same relationship with one boyfriend that I've had with another boyfriend. It never works
and
that
I
way.
think for women, we deliberately try to change things up because we don't want to have that person remind us of our other person. You know, it's like, I left that other person, I'm done with that person. I'm gonna not necessarily do things differently, but if this was our favorite movie that we would watch every time, honey, let's not watch that movie. I really don't like it too much. Another one, you know?
I don't do that, actually. I don't really think that far about things unless it's directly after my breakup. Like, if it's directly after my breakup, I change my whole routine. I don't want to watch the shows we were watching. I don't want to go the places we were going. I don't want to be involved in it. Like, I don't want to think about anything that I was thinking about with you.
Mm-hmm.
That's just to get over the relationship. Yeah. But then again, some people are different than me. I don't date right after I get out of a relationship. I'm that person that will be single for like years after a relationship to get over things, to grow, and then find myself in another relationship. There are a lot of people who don't do it that way, who just jump from relationship to relationship, and more power to you. You do what you got to do. And so I guess maybe that works for other people where it's like you don't do the same things with that person. But for me, once I jump into another relationship, I'm not thinking about my past. Like, I'm completely over that. After like one of my more serious relationships, I stopped watching Game of Thrones for a while. Mm-hmm. That was one of my shows. I loved Game of Thrones. And after the breakup, I completely stopped. And then I got with somebody a few years later. What was it, like 3 years later?
Yeah,
And that was my next relationship after that. And he liked watching Game of Thrones. So I started watching Game of Thrones with him. Like, it doesn't bother me at that point because it's a completely new relationship. But
and I really don't have too much to talk about that because I've been with my my husband for a while. So, you know.
But you've definitely had your situations where, you know, other girls tried to step in on your relationship. So definitely. I know that you have those experiences, and I went through them with you. So
exactly. But I mean,
but it was back in the day, and I feel like we thought differently.
Definitely. So I like to say, for instance, right? I'll tell you this one particular situation. My husband is one that he's very vocal about how he loves me and he feels about me, and I love that. And like Janelle said, some people may hear these situations and want to take that role. And I feel very comfortable with him in a room full of all ladies, and I'll leave because I trust my husband and I know that he wouldn't step out. I could say that with all confidence today. In that situation though, he was hanging out with some of his homegirls and they were like, "Oh, go home and get something for me, please." And he left. And he didn't realize, but there was this other girl that had been feeling him that was trailing behind him. So when he went into his apartment, this woman went in, stripped off all her clothes at the door. He, you know, when he turned around, she's, oh my gosh, like butt-ass naked girl.
This is a long time ago.
Yeah.
A long time ago.
Yes. What he told me is he slapped her ass And then he was like, yo, no, for real, like, you gotta get out of the house. Like, no. And she's like, what? I'm here. I just want you. I know you have your wife, but I want to be with, like, you know, like, she don't gotta know nothing. And he was like, no, you need to leave. Like, now, leave. She did. She got her stuff. She left. And he proceeded to call me. And he told me. And I was furious. I was, what? I was furious. I was like,
it was finest girl, how dare.
And he was like, but why are you yelling at me? Like, I told you the truth. And, which was right, you know? And I think in that situation, I was mad at him too. Because I was like, you see, you put yourself in a situation, X, Y, Z, all sorts of stupidness, you know? A few years later now, they threw a party for him. And I'm there, and there are all these girls, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And she's like, this girl's like, I really like you. Let's take a picture. And I'm like, sure. Come on, girl. Only afterwards, after everyone's done, party's done, and my husband's like, so the girl you took that picture with, that was that girl. I got mad at him at that point.
Oh no, that you definitely deserve to get mad at him for that.
Like, I got mad at that point.
Like, I would have expected my person to drag me up out of that situation and be like, no, not her. This is a situation. Let me figure out whether I want to go back out there and take a picture with her or not.
No, not even. Like, girl, you need to leave. Like, my wife is here. You disrespected us at one point in time. Like, I understand.
Whose house was that?
It was our house. The same apartment. And she had the audacity to come back in there. I was mad. So it was like that scab that was healing, and he was like, zh. And he, again, he did the right thing.
But to be fair, he didn't cheat on you.
He didn't. But in my mind, that's how I had to process with it.
When I was younger, I mean, it was completely different, and I used to want to attack the girl right off the bat. A lot of times it was the guy, and like I said, I just feel like anytime your person steps out, it's always going to be their fault. It doesn't matter, you know, about the other person unless they knew. And you don't know that. Like, you don't know that until you get into the situation and you try and figure out the ins and outs and their conversations and what he said and what she said, and like, and that just doesn't even make any sense. Don't go there. Don't try to figure it out. Like, put the blame on your person, because that's where it belongs, because they're the person that did something to you. If, like I said, it's a situation, I mean, in that situation, I definitely feel like it was the other person, but that wasn't a cheating situation. So
no, but it's still the mentality of it all.
Yeah, of course.
So,
but we're more talking about like somebody actually like betraying you. So in a situation where like your person actually hooks up with somebody else, who do you blame?
But here, what though? So like
for example, if he had hooked up with her, who would you blame?
I mean, obviously they both are to blame, ultimately, you know, but at the end of the day,
because she knew.
Exactly.
And because he's your person and he owed you that loyalty.
Exactly. But now hear what? So I have had the great pleasure of knowing like many, like when I say many, I'm not talking about like a few, like well over 10 people. I just think it goes to show about the generation that we're in right now, but that have come out and literally face to face been like, yeah, I'd rather mess around with people who are in relationships because I'm not to deal with them on a daily basis. I just kind of satisfy their needs. Like, not that they want to replace that person, they want that happiness, they just want sex. And they're in a relationship, that's their person, they gotta deal with it. We just gonna have a little thing on the side and do my own thing, and it's really sickening. And of course, every time that I see them, they you know, tell me these things, I'm like, come on now, like, no, that's not right, that's how you shouldn't be thinking. And they think it's funny, but that's just how they you know, organize their life to be like, I like it this way.
Like I said, in that situation, they know that this person's in a relationship. And that's where blame comes into play as far as I'm concerned. I know a lot of people will be like, oh, and I've had this conversation with people and they're like, well, that person didn't owe you any loyalty. Okay.
So can I just interject real quick? Like, I forgot which one it was, which Love and Hip Hop, what nonsense. But you remember the girl that was like, Your man is the one that took the vows with you. I know you're married. I know you're in a relationship, but I'm not the one that gave you those vows. That vows. That made those vows to you. Like, that's your other person. Like, yeah, we're doing our thing, but I'm not the one. That's you. That's nasty.
Here's the thing. Like, I feel like a lot of people try to take the blame off of the other person just because they don't owe you that loyalty. And they're right. They're absolutely right. They didn't owe you any loyalty. They didn't owe you any vows. They didn't make any promises to you. But guess what? As far as I'm concerned, we're all on earth and we owe each other decency. You don't owe me anything but decency. Be a decent human being and stay the hell away from my relationship and my person. But that doesn't say that you're the only person that gets the blame, because I will take it up with my man, regardless of whether I decide to stay with him, whether I decide to cut him loose. Like, whatever I decide is my business, because it's my relationship and I'm doing what I want to do. Mm-hmm. Y'all both getting the blame, trust me. Whether he's getting it, you know, at home and you're getting it in public, or whatever the case is, or between me and you, or whatever the case is, like, just know it's equal out here. Mm-hmm. The blame is going both ways. But guess what? The only one that you can say it is not your fault, you are not to blame. Period. Doesn't matter what you're doing. And a lot of people will be like, yeah, but, you know, if he was happy to begin with.
Or, you know, he wanted to have babies and I told him no, I didn't want to, so he just started going out over there and doing his own thing. And
that takes away a lack of accountability for adults. And mm-hmm. I feel like that's what this generation is all about at this point. It's like taking lack of accountability for hurting other people. And well, it's not my responsibility. Like, yes it is your responsibility, and there is an accountability that you need to take for hurting somebody. And it's not because somebody else did something, because at the end of the day, you're not, if somebody came to you and hit you, you don't go to jail for somebody hitting you. You go to jail for your own actions. You go to jail for your retaliation, for you deciding to go out there and hit him with a baseball bat.
Exactly, because that's where my mind's at. A baseball bat.
But all I'm saying is, when you cheat on someone, doesn't matter what they're doing at home. It doesn't matter whether you feel like, oh, well, I'm not being satisfied, or, you know, this person did something to me, so I'm gonna do something back. If you cheat, it is your responsibility. It was your actions. Like, it's all on you. It's you. It's not on anybody else. That's just how I feel.
And it's definitely not your fault, no matter what you guys have gone through in your relationship, and you feel like, well, this occurred, and then now afterwards the cause and effect is mm-hmm. this happening. So ultimately, who's to blame? Both parties. Both parties are to blame. Even the person that didn't necessarily
both parties know. As in the person who cheated and the person they cheated with.
Duh, because it ain't you, boo. It's not you. Let's clarify that.
Yeah.
Everyone has to take ownership of their own actions and the consequences that follow thereafter.
Yeah, I'm tired of the excuses and the justifications and, well, this person didn't owe you anything, and like, no, shut up. Just mm-hmm. shut up. Mm-hmm. Like, you don't make any sense. Mm-hmm. And they really stand by this. This younger generation ain't got no morals or no principles, I'm telling you.
Do you guys agree with what we're saying? Do you have any other thoughts or considerations that we can take into consideration? Please comment down below. Let us know. This is something that we need to discuss. The people want to know. We want to know. The people is us. We them people.
Anyway guys, like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the bell. Come back next week for another video, either Wednesday or Thursday,
so you can see
our beautiful faces. That's our best friend Shenielle.
And that's our best friend Janelle.
I got it. I want it, I got it, I want it, I got it, I want it, I got it. You like my hair?
What's the word I'm looking for? Not a punk, but
Good dress.